All right, we got our acetone, we got our Q-tips here, and we're going to test these stones here. This first one is described as howlite turquoise dyed round cabochon gemstone. And then it repeats itself in the title, howlite dyed turquoise. So let's see what we can do here. I'm just trying not to bang the camera around. Oh, look at that. Yeah. Okay. So that is very satisfying. And just to be sure, I'm going to go ahead and flip the Q-tip over. We'll try the other stone that they sent me here. And that just, yeah, that comes right off. Interestingly enough, you can see here that it's not really discoloring the turquoise at all where I have done this. I should say the howlite. And this particular specimen has a lot of quartz in it, as you can see here. But that does not seem to have changed the properties of the dye on these particular specimens. Okay, let's move along here. This next set of stones here is the Lab Turquoise Round Cabochon Loose Gemstone Beats Itself Lab Turquoise 4mm to 25mm for jewelry making. Okay, let's see how well it does here. You can see here there's really not much grain at all. This is a very uniform look. So when they say lab created, I do believe that this is actually a lab created stone of some kind. And usually in lab created, they just make it the color they want. So there wouldn't be any dye. The whole stone is just that color. And as you can see, no amount of scrubbing here is having any effect. But what you can say about this stone is that visually, it just doesn't look like turquoise. Turquoise usually just isn't this uniform. The veins are usually not this thin and that black in contrast to that color. So to me, it just doesn't look like normal turquoise. If I saw this, I would just pass it by, regardless of what somebody told me, whether it was real or unreal. So we'll just test another one here just to be thorough, but I suspect that we will get exactly the same results. Interestingly enough, the seller doesn't provide any additional information about how this stuff is made in a lab. Doesn't say what it's made out of, but we'll test it with a hot needle to see if it is a resin here after we're done. Nothing. Okay, this last one is really interesting. I bought this, I didn't even know this existed. It's called a oval brilliant cut natural nanocrystal gemstone. Lab-grown gemstone, turquoise gemstone for jewelry making. And as you can see, it is opaque. The color is totally uniform. I have to say it's a really pretty stone. Like I really like it. And I'll probably go ahead and use it in something, simply because I love the cut here. The idea of a opaque faceted stone I always thought was kind of attractive. So I have worked with nano crystal stones before because they are a very popular simulant or lab created stone for if you want to create a simulated stone for an otherwise very expensive stone. This is a very popular lab created material to use. And the only thing that's important, like all lab created materials, is proper disclosure. And many customers are happy to buy lab created stones over the natural counterparts. And their reasons for doing so may vary. Anything from ethical mining concerns to price to durability. So anyways, this one, as I suspected, did not have any dye leaching because it's not actually dyed. This is a lab created stone, so it is that color through and through. So we're going to go ahead and set that aside there. And let's go ahead and just test some of these to see what happens if they get a hot needle attached, applied to them. Okay, we're over here at the soldering table here, and I'm going to predict that this dyed howlite will not have any reaction, nor will the nano crystal turquoise This lab created turquoise is the one I'm really curious about, but we're going to go ahead and just test all three just to see. So let's go ahead and heat up the soldering pick here. Trick is to do everything here quickly. And okay, I'm not getting any stick at all or discoloration, no smell of burning plastic here, or so that's a good sign. Let's go ahead and heat the needle back up. It should still be hot enough, but these things do lose their heat pretty quick. So go ahead and warm this back up again. That red hot. Turn off the torch. And also assumed it. Now you can see here some scratching occurring. Oh, we are getting a bit of yeah. Okay, so the heat in this is enough to slightly soften this material. Either that or it's just soft. Let's try my other pick here that is cold. Yeah, look at that. It just scratches. It just scratches really easy. The hot pick scratches easier than the cold one, but the cold one still scratches it, as opposed to this highlight here. No scratching whatsoever here. It scratches on the quartz here, but it does not appear to scratch at all on this material, which means that it has a hardness. That's weird that it would scratch on the quartz and not on the highlight, because the highlight should be softer. Just go ahead and see if this one will scratch real fast. It does not. But we're going to go ahead and see if that one will get hot and melt it as well. The trick is getting this hot and then putting the torch down, not burning anything. Okay. That hot. Turn off the torch. Pick this up. Try not to do this here. Okay. Yep. I'm not getting any resistance or scratching here. So, all right. So this one right here, this definitely suffered the most from the hot needle test, and that was enough to tell me that if I were testing this, even though it did not reveal any dye, it did scratch significantly under the hot needle. And while it didn't melt, the scratch alone was enough to tell me that this was not behaving like characteristic turquoise. Obviously, visually, this one doesn't look right. This one does not look right either. And this one also, visually speaking, while the color is beautiful, this is not what normal turquoise looks like. So this is where visual inspection of your stones is getting to be that much more important. Now, if you're wondering what this stone sitting there was, this whole video started because of this stone. So I purchased this on Amazon, and it was described as dyed howlite. So I put it through a whole series of tests to see what could be done to reveal the howlite, because a lot of folks had asked what different types of liquids could reveal the dye. But the thing of it is I tried acetone here, and I'll try it again. And I got nothing. So then I tried paint thinner, and I tried denatured alcohol. I tried rubbing alcohol. I even put this in carburetor cleaner. And if you're familiar with carburetor cleaner, you know that is pretty nasty stuff, and nothing would take the dye off of this, which goes to show me that, you know, I did purchase this on Amazon for starters. So clearly it's probably not dyed howlite, but what it is, I am not entirely sure. The other thing is you can see here, I ground this down like this. I wanted to see how far the dye went, and it is oddly discolored towards certain areas. And the matrix to me does not look like howlite matrix. It's browner than would be normal for howlite. So this is a really weird specimen. And while everything about it pointed to natural, it does not react to dyes, it does not react to heat, and the color seems to go all the way through. I just don't know what to think about it. It looks off, but it acts like normal turquoise. So in the end, it's important to just be really careful where you get your stones from. Okay, now that we have a sample here that we know reacts with acetone to reveal the dye, let's try some other liquids. I've been promising to do this here for quite a while. First one we're going to do here, this is 70% rubbing alcohol. So I'm just going to get the Q-tip in there and go ahead and make your predictions now. And any dye coming off. Okay, yeah, a little bit. You can see this is not quite as effective as the acetone, but it does work. You have to rub it a little longer, a little more pressure, but you are getting blue dye to come off. So rubbing alcohol, yes, that will work. Not as good as acetone, but it is effective. Next up, we've got denatured alcohol. So this is full enough that I can actually just get this in the corner here and save myself spilling it all over the place. Okay, let's see what this does. Ooh, that's really faint. Let's try the other stone here. We're getting squeaky clean. You're all thinking it. I know it's cheesy. Okay, so denatured alcohol also works. Not as good as rubbing alcohol, which is not as good as acetone. But it does reveal small amounts of dye. So again, acetone is going to be the best bet here. Let's see if there's anything else in my shop I can test. Okay, found some paint thinner. This is made with mineral spirits. It's important to note that paint thinner is not the same thing as acetone. They're not interchangeable. Well, at least they're not the same thing, but they're used for a lot of the same practices, usually cleaning paintbrushes and thinning paint. So let's just go ahead and try this. It should be, I would say, similar to acetone in effectiveness, but the only way to really know is to test it. Science. It's all about experimentation. Okay. Ah, look at that. Paint thinner is not actually revealing any dye at all. That's really, I find that pretty surprising, actually. I would have thought this would be far more effective than the rubbing alcohol. But clearly is not. I'm not getting anything in here. So there you have it, folks. Acetone is king when it comes to testing these things. Okay, finally we're getting a little bit. Okay, so the acetone is revealing a small amount. Maybe that I just had rubbed most of it off. The paint thinner is rubbing. So, okay, so paint thinner can reveal a little bit, but it is not nearly as useful as the acetone. Could be that I just had already rubbed most of it off on the other ones, but it is still not my preferred. So acetone's my recommendation for these, for testing stones. So I started out this video just wanting to test this stone and answer a bunch of questions. Y'all had pitched me about turquoise and the different ways to test it. And what ended up happening was after I tested this and it didn't react to any of my normal tests, I was like, well, I need to kind of learn a little bit more about this because the gemstone world is constantly evolving. New lab created materials are coming out now that do not work with traditional tests. So that is why I went ahead and I ordered these other stones over here so that we could take a look at them together. I could put them through the normal test and we could see how they would react. And sadly, aside from the dyed howlite, which still acted like dyed howlite, it did reveal its dye when the acetone Q-tip was rubbed against it, so that's a good sign. That's still a good test for that material if you're buying dyed howlite. If the material is not dyed howlite, though, if it's this newer lab-created material which resembles old style dyed howlite, then it will not react to the dye test. It does seem to do well with the scratch test, but then we have the nanocrystal stone, which looks a lot like this same lab material. And if you took the nanocrystal stone, and if they were somehow able to grow it with these different growth lines with the matrix that was showing in it, then you would have a stone that not only wouldn't react with the dye test, it wouldn't react to the heat test, and it would not react to any kind of grinding or tumbling. So you would have a stone that acted and looked and felt a lot like real turquoise, but was not. And that is the great thing and the terrible thing about lab-created stones, is they're designed to be as close to the natural stone as possible. And in fact, if you have a lab-created sapphire, what you have is an actual sapphire. The chemical makeup of the lab-created stone is identical to that of a natural stone. The only difference is that it was grown in a laboratory environment. The only way you can tell the difference between the two is with pretty sophisticated lab machinery, which will actually look for very small, minute microscopic differences in the way the crystal grows and other small trace minerals, which are found in naturals but not found in lab-created stones, to help identify them. So like, for example, the GIA would be a good resource for determining the difference between the two. But ultimately, it comes down to the interaction between the buyer and the seller to make an honest transaction. So I would say the vast majority of people out there are honest about what they're selling. This seller here, who I did not include their name on the sheet or any of the personal details about the transaction, just to protect our privacy, but they were honest about what they were selling, and so I knew what I was getting. Sadly, there's a lot of people out there that are not honest, or maybe they just don't know. So when in doubt, just pass it up. You can always wait for the next stone to come along. And I think that's about all I have to say about it for today. Definitely keep those questions coming. If you make observations, put a comment down there, because I know a lot of the other viewers do read the comments, and so your comment might be helpful to somebody else. So I don't know everything there is to know, but I do try to answer the comments that do come up. So thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.